Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our third podcast. I'm really excited for the guest I have on today, Jimmy Mackin. Jimmy is the CEO and founder of Curator, a full-service digital marketing company focused on the real estate industry. He's also the co-author of the best-selling book, What to Say for Real Estate Agents, and the creator of a successful podcast called The Water Cooler, which I've been consuming since the inception of that podcast and have consumed every minute of it. I've been learning from Jimmy and working with this company for almost a decade now, and I can say that him and his team are among the most innovative in the real estate space. I'm so excited to have Jimmy on the show today. Welcome from New Hampshire.
Yes, from a coffee shop in New Hampshire. Well, thank you very much for the kind words, Mike. And one of the things I hope to accomplish in today's podcast, to give your audience some value, is to provide a new perspective on how to think about marketing your business, a new perspective on how to think about sales, how to think about growth. You know, I have the opportunity, Mike, as you know, to work really closely with 500 of the fastest growing top teams across North America. And the interesting thing about it, it's one of my favorite quotes, and I don't know if it was Jim Rohn that said it, well, maybe I'll find out in the show notes here, but success leaves clues. And what we see with successful agents is there's patterns. There's things they do that are fundamentally different than a typical or average agent. And so our ability to kind of codify that and share those lessons with you, I think will provide a lot of value for your audience and hopefully give them a little bit of insight on how they can grow their business in the future.
Well, that's awesome. So when we started the podcast, we kind of looked at it from two perspectives, and that was to bring value to our clients and consumers out there. But also, you know, I wanted to take the opportunity to share back some of the knowledge that I've gained over the years, but also some of the great connections that I've made with guys like you that, you know, took a long time to kind of cultivate that. So I'm excited to bring you on because I would say that if there's anybody in the real estate marketing space that's, you know, inspired me and, help facilitate the passion that I've grown for real estate and specifically real estate marketing, it's you, Chris Smith, and your team. It's been pretty inspiring to watch you guys over the years. So let's start off with some of the questions that I have for you today and to dig in. And I thought we'd just start with a broad one, and that's, what are some of the biggest trends and opportunities that we're seeing in the real estate marketing space right now?
Yeah, one of the most interesting trends that I've been following now for the better part of the last, 24 months is how important the creative is in developing an effective marketing campaign. And when I say the creative, I mean the angle, the copy, the video, the message, the image. I think there was a period of time, Mike, where in real estate, we all got sort of seduced into believing that we could automate our way into growing our business. We got seduced into believing that we could just buy a couple Facebook ads or buy a couple Google ads, and then the growth would just be, we would be able to grow our businesses. And what we're realizing is, whereas those channels have and serve a purpose, having them without having a strong creative strategy to drive performance is a losing strategy. So what we're seeing here with creative is people are looking for new ways to stand out, new ways to connect with consumers, new ways to add value. And so the organizations that focus on, and the real estate agents who focus on ways to be more thoughtful about the content they put out there, more thoughtful about the message they're delivering, and less focus on trying to convert someone right now, rather focus on building a relationship with them through their marketing. Those are the agents who are really winning big. And let me give you one small example of this. I think about, our mutual friend, Brad McCullum, who does amazing videos. He's built $100 million real estate business in less than 36 months, a guy who was kind of had no network to start off with. He is a guy who has done incredible listing video marketing. And as a result of that, he was able to attract people to his organization. So if you ask me, what's the biggest trend that I see in real estate marketing, it is the importance of focusing on quality and creative to attract customers, because the ability to interrupt them is really no longer an option. So that's at least one of the things that stands out to me, Mike.
Yeah, so I would say for me, one of the big personal, kind of wake up calls with social, because I think I used to subscribe to, the same type of thing. We're running ads and we're trying to create leads, and for me, I had never had the appropriate infrastructure to run a business that way. I mean, we could create tons of leads, but then, we didn't have the people to convert leads. So I think a big shift in my thinking was to think about, okay, what has made me successful as a real estate agent? What has allowed me to go into a listing presentation and win over a client? And that comes down to, your ability to build rapport and trust with a client. So the shift in marketing for me was, how can I take that skill set, put it online to essentially be able to use that same skill that I do when I'm at the table. So, and that came down to content creation. So, how can people watch me on Instagram and get that same feeling that they got from me when they're sitting at the table? Like, this is a person that I can connect with, seems trustworthy, and just, seems like a person that I would like to interact with. So that was like a big shift for me, is, to stop putting out, the traditional stuff that you see on social media, and really just thinking about how can I go on camera and be me, and that either resonates with someone or it doesn't, right? And I guess that's
Well, one thing to add there, and you're spot on, is if you're waiting for the listing presentation to demonstrate your expertise, you've already lost, because consumers are going to make the choice of who they're going to hire based on a few key characteristics or qualities, if you will. First is they have to be aware you exist. And I know this might sound like so basic 101, but the reality is that a consumer can't hire an agent they don't know. Yep. And so awareness is got to be mission critical to your marketing strategy, making sure that people are aware that you exist. That means frequency and consistency make a huge difference on the effectiveness of your marketing campaign. The second thing is your reputation. How are you perceived in the market? This is where things like reviews and customer testimonials and word of mouth really have a big impact. The third is the knowledge, meaning, do you actually know what it is you're talking about? Because that is important. For if they're going to pay a premium to hire an expert, they want to know that you know what you're talking about, that you know the market. The fourth is, do you have the appropriate experience? And this is important. It's experience that they value. So if you sell a bunch of homes that are all in a different area at a different price point, you've got a lot of experience, but it's not experience they value. They make an association with you as an agent who produces a lot of sales or sells a lot of homes, but not an agent who sells homes like mine. So do you have the right experience for the clients you're trying to attract? And the fifth one is what you just touched on, which is the likability and trust factor. We do a lot of seller interviews at Curator. We ask sellers like, hey, why did you hire this agent? And above all else, they'll almost all say, I really like the person. We really got along. I trusted that individual. And so you convey that through marketing. And let me give you one really specific example of this. I was talking to one of our clients' sellers. He was a rich doctor from Rhode Island. I won't give away the client's name, but he loved our client. He's like, the client just delivered an amazing experience, and the seller was really happy. And one of the things he said, he goes, as a doctor, who's someone who is like very objective and kind of has to detach themselves from their emotions, he's an analytical kind of guy, right? So he wasn't going to be like wooed by some fancy listing presentation. He had to like know the numbers. And what our client did when it came to pricing the home, he did all this research about all the comps that sold near this doctor's house, why his home was better or worse, and then guided him through the process to sort of come to a reasonable listing price that they both felt would help accomplish the goal of selling the home quickly for the most amount of money. And so I heard the seller talk about this, Mike, and I said, why aren't agents taking these one-to-one conversations they're having at the kitchen table and translating that into a deep dive on how we price your home to sell it quickly for the most amount of money, as like a 17-minute YouTube video where they show all the research that goes into it. They walk through the different comps as a way to demonstrate to people, I don't pull the price out of a hat. There's a process we go through. And I know one of the biggest challenges that you guys probably face every day now is, yeah, it's a great seller's market, but you also have sellers who are like wildly unrealistic about what their home is worth and what it can sell for, because some guy got, $80,000 above his ask price or his list price because the agent just underpriced the property. So you have to compete with that narrative. So for me, when I think about helping agents demonstrate that they're different in the market, it comes down to awareness, reputation, knowledge, expertise, and trust. And if you can get that message out there, Mike, you're going to be able to stand out in any market with any conditions.
Yeah, I think when we touch on content marketing, I think one of the great opportunities that it gives us now, like short form video, is the ability to put yourself out there and not be a secret agent, but do it in a way that's not boastful, right? Because a lot of the mediums that we had in the past was, the opportunities were difficult to get that message out without spending a ton of money, right? If I want to buy a full page ad in a magazine, that cost me $2,500, and it's more like it's marketing that's more based on like, look at all the houses that I've sold, and to be, for some people that can be uncomfortable. Like, it's never been something that I was comfortable doing with, like, advertising your award level and stuff all over the place. Like, although that message needs to be out there, it's never felt comfortable to me. But to be able to put out the content like this, it's a way that you can constantly communicate with people and get the message out that you're a player in your market, but in a way that's not boastful. So,
well, this is probably one of the, you're touching on such an important point here, and this is important for your audience to just turn the volume up on this question. Because what you just touched on, the reason why people market the way they market is because ultimately they're trying to get people to say, this person is reputable, they have experience, they're good at their job, they're knowledgeable. But the way in which we do it is completely ass backwards. The way in which we do it is like, I don't know what real estate coach or what guru went out there and said, this is a good idea. But everyone has been sort of recycling the same old ideas and trying to say, okay, this is what worked for that person because that person's a top agent in that market. The thing that you want to think about here is that let's take the example of all the homes you've sold, right? This is let's kind of look at a typical campaign. A typical campaign might be like, hey, I sold 120 homes last year. I sold, $70 million in volume, and I got, 60 happy customers, right? And so you sort of do like this social media post. That's kind of what I typically see. How I might take that same idea, which is, to your point, an important message to get out there to the world. What I would say is, as an agent who sold over 100 homes last year for over $60 million in production, I had the opportunity to experience, a ton of new different types of real estate transactions, right? In fact, I had one seller who sold their house and bought their house with never meeting the buyer and never actually seeing the home. And so I want to take this opportunity to provide some insight on some of the really key or really important market trends that you should be aware of. And then number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. And so that's rough and raw, but you get the idea, which is like, demonstrate or communicate as an agent who sells a lot of homes, who works a lot of clients, who has seen kind of everything. Here are some things you should be aware of. And that credibility that you're trying to establish is only valuable when you back it up with some useful information for the consumer. So people promote the credibility, but they don't provide the usefulness. And so just getting the credibility out there without having any usefulness is not useful. It's like not helpful for anybody. So that's how I would try to think about it. It's a good idea. It's just half baked. We got to push it a little bit further. And I think we'd accomplish the same thing that we're trying to accomplish here, which is establish our reputation, showcase that we're good at our job, and then, build a connection with some consumers in the area.
That's all awesome stuff, Jimmy. I noticed that you've really doubled down on the content. You guys have always been a content creation company, but more recently, like with Instagram in particular, you really kind of changed the direction that you were going with that. And I wondered if you might comment on, what caused you to decide to double down on Instagram, and with all that growth and the focus on that, how's that changed your business?
Yeah, well, if you guys check me on Instagram, it's just at Jimmy Mackin on Instagram, Mackin. One of the things that we did, I got to give a shout out to my brand manager, Annette Torres. She really pushed me outside my comfort zone in terms of creating short form video and really being more active on Instagram. Because for many years, even though I had an Instagram account, I really never used it. So here's what we decided to do. When Annette came to me and says, "Hey, listen, you're CEO of the company. You've got to have a personal brand. No more excuses. Like, let's go." I said, "All right." I said, "If I'm going to do this, I'm not dancing. If I'm doing this, right, I'm not showing pictures of my kids or what I'm eating for dinner or, what planes I'm traveling on and what cities I'm speaking at. Like, I'm not doing any of that because that's not me. And I'm not knocking anyone who does that. I'm just saying that's not me. And so it's not an authentic version of who I'm really trying to portray as a business leader. And so I said, listen, I have one goal. And that is, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to become the most useful person to follow on Instagram for real estate agents. Not the most popular, right? Not the most liked, but the most useful. And what that means, Mike, is that I do not share or promote anything that isn't useful. I mean, that's the bar. I don't share anything that isn't like, oh, this is something I could take and immediately use. So whether it's the carousel ones that we give examples of, like ads to inspire people, or the swipe and steal templates, or the short form videos that are designed to sort of provide like an instantaneous jolt in terms of like coaching for a team or a company's trying to grow. Everything we do is intended to be useful. And so I have a rule when it comes to marketing. And this is not just for Instagram, it's for everything that we do. Don't waste their time. Meaning I don't put shit out to people that is going to waste their time. That's going to make me look good or feel good, but it's going to basically say, okay, that was not really useful for me. I can't do anything with that. Because the moment you start treating their time like it's a commodity and you start wasting it is the moment they start ignoring you. And then all your other marketing becomes less effective. So to answer your second part of your question, the impact on the business, the business had a great year last year. We grew 20%, most profitable year in Curator's history. We were able to acquire a company out of Toronto, a technology company called Four Walls, to help beef up our technology team here at the organization, bring in some incredible talent there. I think the biggest impact for me, and this has nothing to do with the business or the financial metrics, the biggest impact for me has been just the positive feedback I get from people like you and others who say, hey, that really resonated with me, or that really helped me. And so, I now get dozens of messages from people who follow me on social media every day who are just reaching out saying, hey, like, I really liked the video, or I really found it super helpful, or I tried that idea that you told me to try and it just killed it for me. That type of connection with the people that I'm trying to serve has kept me really close to the customer and allowed me to make better business decisions. And so this is an important lesson, is that when you grow and scale an organization like we have, I've got 50 some odd employees that work for me at Curator. It's easy for me to have an arm's length relationship with customers because I'm not the guy answering support tickets. I'm not the guy on sales calls, right? I'm not the guy who's out there calling customer to help them, fix a widget on their website or install some script to make sure Google Analytics is working. We've got a team for that. So when you can do that, you kind of get yourself in a position, Mike, where you're too far removed from the people who pay your bills, which are the customers. So being active on social media has kept me very close to the customers. It has allowed me to really understand the struggles that you guys go through every day. And I think be a better coach, be a better leader, be a better business person because of it. And that's, largely immeasurable in terms of the impact it's had for curators and organization.
So if we take your success, everything that you've just talked about with Instagram there, if you were going to give advice to an agent out there that this is, let's say that they're really just going through the motions with their social media and just kind of doing what everybody else is doing. If they were to put a focus on, one of the social media platforms, what platform would that be if you were going to pick one? And what would the content you were putting on that channel be?
Yeah. So let me provide a slightly different perspective, because I think this is a lot of people jump to what should I produce? What's the content I should create? Where should I promote it? Should I advertise it, spend money on it? And the way to think about this is going to hopefully change everyone's perspective on it. When you get into the content game where you commit yourself to creating content, it is a grind. I mean, this is not my full-time job creating content for my personal brand. I'm CEO. I got a million other things to do. It can feel like at times, man, I got to shoot another 30-second reel. And by the way, it takes me an hour to shoot these damn things. It's got to be perfect, right? Every word kind of matters. So it takes all of us a long time. Sometimes it takes me 30 minutes, but most time it takes me an hour. So how do you develop a system around creating content that consumers love, meaning the customers you serve? The first thing you need to do, Mike, is you need to get your inputs right. And what I mean by that is, where do you find inspiration? What are the news sources or the other accounts that inspire you, that help you think about the types of content you want to create for your own brand? Because if you just sit down with the camera and shoot a video that's let me just talk about something useful, you're going to run out of ideas really quickly. So for me, I love Zillow research, Redfin research, CNBC. I love, Product Hunt. I love using Medium, the blog. I like looking at Facebook mastermind groups to see what people are posting about, which obviously versions of that exist within your community. If I was an agent, I would be looking at things like Nextdoor or comparable products like that. Get your inputs right. Follow people who are creating really good, highly valuable content, because that is going to provide a steady stream of inspiration that's going to allow you to create content that consumers love. And it's not just the topic, it's also the way in which you present it. Now, let me give you an example. CNBC put out an article maybe 18 months ago now, probably around the end of 2020, so a little less than 18 months ago, 16 months ago, where the percentage of consumers searching for the phrase, "Will the real estate market crash?" jumped over 2,000%. So I saw that stat, and
I Googled that this morning.
Yeah, it's right. It wasn't will the real estate market crash? It was when. The when, because that's the percent. When is this thing going to crash? And so, CNBC is one of my inputs. I hear that, and I'm like, what a great opportunity to write a script that's about the state of the real estate market, because this is obviously at the forefront of consumers' minds. So instead of talking about the market's super hot, homes are selling really quickly, the angle was, let's talk about the market crashing and why the market isn't like the market in 2008. And so I think for me, it's you getting your inputs right, Mike. Mission critical. You got to get those things dialed in, and that will create a steady stream of ideas that you can use. Now, to piggyback on that, in terms of distribution, if I were to choose one channel above all else, it would be Instagram. And the reason I would choose Instagram, quite simply, is because it's used towards the audience that I'm trying to market to. TikTok obviously has a smaller audience than Instagram, not by much, but it does have a smaller audience. And people are wildly successful with TikTok. Glenda Baker is a great example of that. But for me, Instagram really represents the demographic. It has the sort of content tools that I like to use, because obviously TikTok's just strictly video. With Instagram, I can use carousels. I can use just post, right? And so I can still deliver a lot of value beyond just video. So Instagram to me is that go-to channel. Now let's be clear. You should be using, even if you have a primary channel, you can still distribute that content to other channels that have similar medium types. Like Instagram, obviously you can do TikTok videos. You can also do, YouTube shorts. You can also have Facebook reels, right? Like you can do distribution beyond your kind of hub. But Instagram really is my primary one. But again, I think that just depends on the demographic and the market you're going after. But Instagram clearly is a powerhouse in the space and should be seriously thought of as, a number one choice for everyone who's listening today.
So Instagram, I definitely agree with that. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like every day my engagement with Facebook content seems to be going down and getting replaced by Instagram, and it's getting to the point where it feels like most of the people engaging with my Facebook content are it's either my mother or friends of my mother, where Instagram, like you said, seems to be where most of the people that are actually buying and selling real estate are hanging out. Is that fair to say?
It's Facebook has for a long time been pay to play, which is if you want to reach people on Facebook, you have to advertise. On Instagram, you still can have a tremendous amount of organic reach. That's probably going to change, because Facebook owns Instagram, right? So eventually that will change. But for now, because TikTok is a, serious competitor of Instagram, they are unlikely going to rush to sort of make Instagram pay to play, because if they do, all of the influencers and all the people creating content, all the creators, they will just move over to TikTok where they can get organic reach without actually having to pay. The reason why Facebook's pay to play is because there was no alternative. So they can just say, hey, you want to reach those 10,000 fans you spent 3 years building? Congratulations. Put your Amex down, hit boost post, you're good to go. The businesses couldn't go anywhere. Now, because with short form video being as prominent as it is, it's a category, if they were to do that with Instagram, it would cause a mass exodus jumping from Instagram to TikTok. So I think for the foreseeable future, until TikTok changes its algorithm and starts introducing more pay to play, I think Instagram is one of the few refugees in marketing where you can still get really good organic reach, really good organic exposure. That's primarily YouTube, Instagram, and YouTube to a lesser degree, but YouTube for sure. YouTube, Instagram, and now TikTok.
Yeah. I can say personally, like the organic reach of reels, like not even put up against like Facebook. I mean, just an Instagram reel versus a story or just a video post. I mean, we get at minimum 10x organic reach through a reel. So it's pretty amazing reach for something that's free.
Exactly.
So let's dig in a little bit to our current market conditions right now. So you're down in New Hampshire, but I think it's fair to say that pretty much anywhere in North America right now, there's a major inventory shortage, and all the agents are out there, fighting for listings, because it's really the only thing that guarantees a paycheck right now. So what would you advise agents to do in this market to try to generate listings for them?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? Which is how do I get listings? So here's what we know. First and foremost, there's a simple thing everyone can do today to increase the amount of listings they get, which is doubling down on their existing past clients and sphere of influence, because that is going to be a primary source of listings. And so one way to do that is to dramatically improve the quality and the frequency of your email marketing. Email marketing is a major driver of growth for all Curator clients. It's something that drives a lot of growth at Curator, yet it's done incredibly poorly in the sense that if you think about most email marketing, Mike, it's either automated or it's some drip campaign that somebody wrote 3 years ago that's kind of applied to your most important clients. Oh, I put them on this drip campaign. So yeah, they say I'm following up with my past clients. No, you're not. Past clients want to be kept up to date on what's going on in the market. They want to understand, where are there opportunities? When is the right time for me to buy? Can I, should I, how do I make a move? This is information that you can't automate. You as the expert have to be at the front and center of that, communicating those ideas, sharing that knowledge. So the first thing is, if you're listening today, this is an incredible opportunity, is to triple down on the frequency and the quality of your email marketing. And if you go to my Instagram account, I have now dozens and dozens of scripts that you can use, ideas that you can basically take and run with as a way to start more conversations. I'll give you one small example. I wrote an email recently called, the subject line was, "Let me guess." And it basically went like this. Let me guess. They open up the email. The first line is, "You haven't sold your home because you haven't found a new one to buy yet." Right? I'm hearing that from most of the sellers that I work with. If this sounds like you, here's my phone number. Let's set up a call. I have a strategy that can help you accomplish your goals, selling your house and buying one at the same time. I just helped this person do the exact same thing. And so this is a way for us to sort of show empathy and show the customers that we know them in a form that gets them to raise their hand and say, yeah, that's actually exactly what I'm dealing with. So the first thing is email marketing. The second thing is, this is really important. In a seller's market, the number one mistake I see agents making, Mike, is they underinvest in how they promote their listings because the home is going to sell anyways. And so in a seller's market, the goal of marketing the seller's home is not to only get some exposure. That's great. And you want to do that. That's your responsibility as a listing agent. But the other benefit, which is arguably even bigger than helping sell a house, is that you get exposure to a whole bunch of buyers who, by the way, also happen to have to sell, to how you actually market homes and deliver value to consumers that justifies your commission. And so what I want to see is, I want to see agents promoting listings as if it's a buyer's market, as if they have to really market the hell of these homes to get some people in the door. Because when you do that, you show the rest of the sellers in your area, hey, I can do this for your home too. And that type of marketing that demonstrates your value is really mission critical. So I would invest $300-$400 in an ad where your competition is spending $25. And I would do it at every stage of the listing lifecycle. I would do it at the coming soon, right? 24 hours before you hit the MLS. I would do it with just listed, open house. When you goes under contract, when you sell the home, I would run ad campaigns promoting these unique events. And again, a customer can't hire you if they don't know you exist. And so this is as much about awareness as it is about demonstrating your value. So the second thing that you should do is you should promote the heck out of your listings, even though they're going to sell and even though they're going to go above asking price. Joe Herrera, one of our clients with Real Brokerage out of Las Vegas, runs advertising campaigns for his listings, Mike. He spends $500 per listing promotion. He generates 200 listings a year from Facebook alone because people see how he markets these homes and they say to themselves, oh, I want that for my home, right? So number two is, you've got to think about making sure you're investing really heavily in promoting listings, even though they're going to sell quickly and they're going to sell above asking price. The third thing I would do to attract listings is, I believe that, we talked to a seller recently and they said to us, if a home hit the market and sold above asking price, I would want to know that information, right? Because that may at least get me thinking about selling my home. And so I think the old school techniques of circle prospecting done with a more storytelling narrative approach can be wildly effective. So instead of, let's say, just saying sold $50,000 above asking, What you should do is write a letter. And that letter, you can include things like, hey, Mike, you may have just seen that we sold your neighbor's house and the home hit the market at, say $450,000 and sold at $525,000. What you might not know is the home actually had 13 offers, right? Of which 7 were cash buyers. The home sold within 7 days. As you can imagine, our client was thrilled with the results. Anytime a home sells in your neighborhood, it impacts the value of your home. If you'd like me to put together a report, or more accurately, I'm not sure if this is for you, but if you'd like me to put together a report for your home to show you how your home's been impacted by this recent sale, like, here's my phone number. And so what you can do is turn every listing that you sell into more listing conversations through really smart and effective circle prospecting. So for me, when I think about marketing, I think email marketing, past client sphere of influence. I think about doubling down on listing promotions. I think absolutely focusing on the blocking and tackling, which is circle prospecting, but done with a storytelling narrative. Those are 3 really simple things that you can apply to win more market share. Now, if you can back all of that up with consistent, high quality content marketing through video, through blog posts, right? That just like education stuff, you've got a winning strategy. Now, keep in mind, 42% of all homeowners are equity rich. And what I mean by that is that the mortgage they have, right, is less than half of what the home is actually worth. That's the highest it's been in sort of since they started tracking it. 42% of households in America are equity rich. So people know this, and they also know this is not going to last forever. So if you can help them navigate that sort of buy side and talk to them more specifically about, hey, we know you want to sell your house. We also know that you want to buy a house, which is really challenging. Here's our plan to help you do that. You're going to get some of these sellers who are sitting on the sidelines to actually at least put one foot into the game, right? Start to actually say, yeah, I'm actually open to this. Because let's be clear, there are still great deals to be had on the buy side. My agent helped us buy a property. This is I know this is going to sound like not the normal story, Mike, but my agent, curator client Lisa Johnson, who's amazing, right? She's a rock star. The first home that we put an offer in, we won. Okay, we had to put it sight unseen. We had to waive the contingencies, and she walked us through the pros and cons of doing so. But the first house that we actually wanted to buy, we bought. And we were casually following the market for 18 months. But the first one that came along and said, okay, yeah, we want to buy a house. We got it. And the crazy thing is that she got us the house before there was a bidding war, before they did a public open house, which would have driven up the price probably another 7 or 10%. So we actually got a fairly good deal on the property. Buyers believe, because it's kind of the message, or maybe even some of their experience, that they're never going to find a house. But that's not true. Like, it may take them 6 months or it may take them 4 months, but there is going to be an option for them to find a house. We have got to provide education around that, so it's not open-ended. So for me, I think it's, again, just to recap for your audience, and I love how I give 12-minute answers for all of your questions, and you got like questions.
I've got way too many questions here.
It's all good. Number one, it's going to be your past client sphere of influence. Double down on email marketing. Throw in some retargeting if you want. That also helps. Number 2, double down on listing promotions. Like, this is just basic 101. Promote listings. Promoting listings is the best way to win more listings. Number 3 is to double down on circle prospecting, but use a storytelling narrative approach. And number 4, that 4th bucket on content marketing, is show some empathy, right? I think Open Door put out data recently, Mike, that 2/3 of all sellers or 2/3 of all buyers have to sell a home. So you have to market to people about how can you buy a home while you still live in the one you currently have? How can you navigate this market? Because the messaging of the market's great, sell your home now, that solves half my problem. I got to find someplace to live. So start marketing around that, communicating, adding value around that, and guiding people through it in an authentic, real way. And then you're going to be able to attract those sellers who just happen to have to buy as well. So that's at least a couple of things that your audience can put into play for right now.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great advice. Funny story around that. There was a listing that came to market last week that just had exterior photos, and sometimes agents jumped the gun. They want to get it online and they don't have their interiors yet. So I had sent him an email to say, hey, can you let me know when you have your interiors or share the photos with me? And he said, well, we didn't figure we needed to do them because, the house is going to sell anyway. So there's an opportunity for listing marketing missed, not even doing photos. So
yeah, it's a and that person's an asshole. First off, let's be clear about that. Secondly, like that is so short-sighted. And I will say, Mike, one of the things that prevents agents from being massively successful in this space is their unwillingness to lose money. And what I mean by that is when you make an investment in your marketing, most of it's not going to work. The agents who make investments in their marketing understand that 8 out of 10 campaigns may either break even or lose money. But the 2 that you're trying that actually drive results can be transformative for your business. And so for me, someone who is just trying to, the house is going to sell anyway, they're going from deal to deal. And for me, the people that we work with, as you know, Mike, we're trying to build a sustainable business. We're trying to not go from paycheck to paycheck. There are so many agents who are maybe even listening today who are 2 or 3 months away from being broke. That's not the type of business we want to build. So you got to make forward-facing investments in your marketing and your business ahead of revenue, especially when things are going well. When things are going well, like now is the time not to just cash in your chips. Now's the time to make those investments so you can build sustainability in the business. So hopefully that agents listen to this podcast and tries to rethink about how they approach their marketing.
Yeah, as long as they're not in my market.
That's it.
So just a couple basic questions I just wanted to pick your brain on. So if you were a newer agent, let's say you got your license yesterday, you come into the office today, you're ready to get going. If you were going to spend some money on marketing, where would you start as a new agent?
Let me challenge the premise of the question. If I was a new agent today, the first thing I would do is I would join Mike Kearns Group. I would join a team. I would join an organization that has a leader who's been a producer, because it's too expensive to get going in real estate when you have no income. If all you're doing is incurring expenses for the first 3 to 6 months, you're going to dig yourself into a hole that's going to be hard for you to come out of. That's why so many agents make so little money their first few years in the industry, and why so many agents fail within the first 5 years. I know Tom Ferry puts out data around this, that 87% of agents fail within the first 5 years. Now, whether that number's accurate right now or not, the reality is most of us know agents who are either what I would call zombie agents. They're not really alive. They're not really dead. Meaning they're still in the business, but they don't have a sustainable like income coming in. They supplement it with a second job. I think I saw a stat recently where like 30% of all agents had a second job. Like, this job's hard enough. Could you imagine having a second job? Yeah. So I think the first thing I would do if I was a new agent, if I'm listening right now, is I would find a team lead who has the systems, has the coaching, has the leads, the opportunities, the marketing, the admin staff, or contracts the admin staff to help support me in my growth goals. Because even though I'm going to give up 50% of my commission, 50% of, call it $150,000 of GCI is a lot more than 100% or 80% or 90% of $35,000. And that's how most agents think about it. They think about their splits. I don't care about my split. I care about my top level earning potential. And so for me, I'm saying, don't even worry about marketing if you're a new agent. Surround yourself with super talented people. Find that mentor. Find that Mike Kearns in your market who is someone who's obsessed with getting better, and work with them. Because you're going to go a lot further, a lot faster than if you just go out there and try to start your own Instagram account and start shooting videos. Now, you should probably try to do some of that stuff, but let's start with surrounding yourself with the right people first, Mike.
Yeah. Great answer. We're pushing on an hour here, so I'll let you go. You're probably in the loitering phase of the coffee shop now. So let's make some predictions for this year. So anything coming in the real estate marketing space that you think you should pay particular attention to right now?
Yeah.
Anything you have your eye on?
Well, first off, let me give a shout out to my partner in crime, Chris Smith. He is just updated his best-selling book, The Conversion Code, which is the best book written on lead conversion ever. It's been 5 years since he wrote the original one. He's releasing an updated version in May. My prediction is the book is going to be a wild success, and because so much has changed in marketing and sales about how consumers think about marketing and sales. And so what Chris has done is he's really kind of codified some of the key trends that really are going to impact everyone who's listening to today's podcast and this industry. So the first prediction I have is pick up a copy of the Conversion Code if you haven't already done so, the original one, and get ready for the updated version coming out in May, because it's going to be a transformational book in terms of what he was able to cover. In terms of the market, what Chris and I talk a lot about is we're moving towards this attract, don't chase. And we've been talking about it for many years, right? You still looked at traditional lead gen as an option, but we're starting to inch towards like attract, don't chase as a mindset that's becoming a reality. What I mean by that is if you think about HUD, coming down on Facebook to change, some of the targeting options. If you think about Apple with their most recent update with iOS 14, not allowing Facebook to basically cookie people so they couldn't do, retargeting. If you think about what Apple's done with email, where you can no longer track people opening up your emails, we're moving towards a sort of privacy first, consumer first world. And what that means is you're going to need to get people's permission to get in their inbox, permission to text them, permission to get in their newsfeed. And so if you want to say what's old is new, is to go back and look at books like Permission Marketing from Seth Godin and realize everything he said to do has now become more important than ever. And what Chris is talking about in the Conversion Code, attract, don't chase. Everything is about creating value, leading with value, giving away value as a way to build your brand, to be able to make a connection with someone. I was talking to my friend Mark Davison over at 1000 Watt, and Mark's challenging me to come up with a better description of what a brand really means. But my current variation of it is, what building a brand really is. It's about creating an association, meaning that when you think of this company, you immediately associate them with something of either value or not. Meaning, you make a characterization of that company based on a whole bunch of characteristics and qualities. And so for me, having this idea of you want to build an association about your brand as someone who's provides value, someone who's no bullshit, someone who goes above and beyond the extra mile to educate people. If you build that association with your brand becomes known as that. You can attract people to you, and you don't have to dial for dollars. You don't have to pound the phones, because by the way, that's all getting harder. That's all becoming more difficult. And regulation, right? Software, technology, there's just all these barriers, Mike, that are getting in the way of those tactics. They're going to cause them to have a slow, painful death. Now, they still work, and they still can be a major force for driving business. And if you've got to put food on the table, you better pick up the damn phone and make the calls. You better text people, right? But at a certain point, you've got to make that investment in the future. So for me, the biggest trend is attract, don't chase. It's what Chris talked about in the Conversion Code. It's about building a brand that focuses on adding value. And that means you have got to become fanatical about creating content that solves consumers' problems as a way to build your business, because it's going to become more important than ever before.
Awesome answer. One of my questions was for you to talk about the difference between brand and marketing based on Mark Davidson's podcast that I listened to a few months ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's perfect. Well, that's awesome, Jimmy. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. It's always awesome to hear your perspective on things. And, you've always been a great predictor of things coming up in the real estate space. So it's been really fun chatting with you, and I hope our listeners get something out of that today. I'll put in the show notes where people can find you online on Instagram. You talked about some of that content that you share, specifically like some of your swipe and steal ideas. So Jimmy's constantly putting out stuff there that we can all recycle in our marketing, and the stuff works. I will say that with email marketing, I had some reservations about some of the swipe and steal content that you guys put out, and like how, like my personal database would respond to that type of marketing. But I can say, like, every time that I've sent it, the response that I've got from it is always blows my mind. Right. So it's, I'm very thankful for that.
Well, it's funny you say that, because this is maybe one of the most important lessons I can leave your audience with in closing here is, for me, when you talk about authenticity, if you're following someone who's providing content, it is really about taking what they're saying, interpreting it, and applying it in your own way, and making sure you still stay authentic to the way you market. So if you see me write a swipe and steal, like, I actually like the idea, but I don't like the execution, or that's not really how I would say it. I'm a guy, even though I'm living in New Hampshire in the next month, I've been in Boston for the better part of 10 years, right? So I still kind of consider myself a Bostonian. And I'll probably still introduce myself as a Bostonian instead of a New Hampshirean, if you will, if that's even the right word. But like, I'm more direct, right? I kind of get to the point, right? I'm not beating around the bush in terms of the way which I communicate. And that's my style. That may not be your style, right? That may not be the way in which you communicate. That's okay. Take what I'm doing, use it as inspiration, apply your own flavor to it. And that's what you should be doing. And my advice to your audience is seek inspiration outside of the real estate community, outside of your local market. Look at the best brands in the world, the companies who are doing the best marketing, the companies who are out there doing really creative stuff. Use them as the gold standard, not just the agent next door to you, because you know this, Mike. We just sort of recycle the same stuff. Find an agent who's doing some amazing work, or find a business doing amazing work outside of the industry to help inspire your next marketing campaign. Mike, I appreciate your time today, my friend. I hope your audience got value out of it, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions that come in after the recording's posted.
Awesome. Thanks, Jimmy. Take care.
All right. Be well, brother.
Okay. Bye-bye.